Hi, my name is Anne, and this is Brain Candy, brought to you by the Candy Factory. We're a co-working and social club right here in Lancaster. Today, I have the pleasure of having José Johnson on the show today. Welcome, José.
Hi, Anne. Thanks for having me.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a serial entrepreneur. I do a lot of different things. So I have mindfulness consulting and author, and I'm a musician. And one of the things I really got into is podcasting. And that's one of the things I want to talk to you about today.
Excellent. We're going to be talking about 3 ways to build your podcast audience, right? So you have a very successful podcast called Trumpet Gurus Hang, which you can find on all of the networks.
Right. It's on YouTube, the video version's on YouTube, and then there are the audio podcasts which are available on all the major platforms.
So before we dive into the tips, tell us a little bit about the podcast itself.
Well, the podcast, the idea for the podcast came from all the years that I've spent going to different kind of trumpet conventions. I'm a trumpet player, and hanging with the musicians at the bar. And that's the way you get the real cool information. Everybody's hanging out and they're talking and they're sharing tips, and you get to know the person more than the celebrity, or so you get to really understand the person, and that to me really has helped me in my progress as a player to talk to these guys and get the real nitty-gritty tips.
All right, so we're going to talk about 3 tips on building your podcast audience, and the first one is focus. Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, I think the first thing you need to do is you need to get focus or clarity on what it is you're actually trying to do. So you need to have a topic and a concept for it. And then as you're building your audience, and you know who specifically is going to be listening or watching your product, so then you can build the show around that. And I think that's where a lot of people fall down is they have this kind of broad idea about what they'd like to do, but it's not until you really get super hyper focused on it that you can really start to develop a style and a unique voice.
Excellent. So that topic being really focused too helps you really determine your audience and then your niche, you being trumpet players. Right. Excellent. The next tip is consistency.
Consistency is key. I started the podcast, my first episode dropped in April of 2020. And other than a 2-week period when I was in the hospital last year, I have not missed a week of publishing an episode.
That's impressive.
So, in the 90s at this point. So it was the consistency. And people know that every Tuesday at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, my show goes live. And it took a while for things to pick up. But now if I recently had a problem with something not uploading, and I woke up to messages like, what happened to episode 89?
Right.
I can't find it. So people are actually looking for it. And that's a really cool thing.
Oh, that's so cool. And you have a global audience. And so dropping at 5 a.m., you said?
5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Wow, fabulous. So as you were building this audience, one of the tips you're going to be talking about is bringing heavy hitters onto the show. Tell me what that means.
Right. Well, since my show is an interview-based show, what I decided is I wanted to get the most people interested in my show as possible immediately. So I went after one of the biggest names in the industry, who happens to be a good friend of mine. So I know that his name has a lot of weight. So first of all, it gave me credibility immediately. Then the second thing is it becomes a way of ranking in the searches, because this is a person who people search for his material a lot. So by doing that, what I'm able to do is to leverage his celebrity and his authority, and it puts me in that position, and more people are searching. And he was my first guest in April. It's still my highest ranked video, and people are still going back and listening to it and commenting on it.
That's great. And so people shouldn't be afraid to ask people to be on the show.
Yeah, absolutely not. If you're doing an interview-based show, ask whoever, because you never know who's going to say yes and who's going to say no, but the answer is always no if you don't ask.
Exactly. All really great tips. And so you've grown this podcast, not only from those who are listening to the actual audio version of it, but your YouTube followers. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, YouTube has actually been the best format for me. And this is an odd formatted show. It's not like a 20 or 30 minute show. These are like hour and a half to hour and 40 minute conversations. And I've grown it to subscribers are over like 1.2 now 1.2K, over 1,000 subscribers.
Congrats.
I have 13,000 hours of watch time.
Wow.
So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And about 65,000 hours of video that's up.
Fantastic.
So it's a whole lot of stuff that's been going on, a whole lot of work. But that's where that consistency comes in, because I'm just constantly putting out the stuff. The numbers keep growing, and I couldn't be happier.
Wow, congratulations on that. And you're also a TCF member and part of the media studio. Tell me a little bit about your experience here at the Candy Factory.
Well, I love the Candy Factory, and I don't think that I'd have as much success with the shows if I wasn't here, because it makes it so much easier for me to do the production. When I first started doing the show, which is during COVID, I was doing it at home, and the cat's walking through the video, and my wife is yelling in the kitchen or something.
Yeah.
Now I'm able to have a very nice place, really great sets, good equipment, and it just has up the level of my production. And it's one of the things that people comment a lot about, is that it doesn't look like the typical Trumpet podcast, which is usually a guy sitting in his bedroom with a webcam.
Got it. Well, we are so thrilled that you're part of our community here at the Candy Factory. Where can people find more information?
Well, they can find the podcast either at thetrumpetgurushang.com, or they can also go to my main website, which is josejohnson.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.